Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is out. How is it running on the Xbox Series X and S, as it is a day one Game Pass game? We'll take a look at that. The Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders they went up. And it went, I think, as people expected. So we'll talk a lot about the Switch 2 in today's show because there's a lot of interesting things here, from their physical games to the pre-order situation as to what happened there to the projection of sales. That is a huge number here that they are looking to hit, and I think it will hit after you're seeing the craziness over the last day. We got some announcements here from EA about some big football games that they put out every single year. FBC Firebreak gets a release date. So we will go over all of this stuff. And if you enjoy daily gaming news and content every morning at 8 a.m., make sure to hit that subscribe button, share the video. And if you have been watching for a while, which I see a lot of you have been based off of my analytics, and you are not subscribed, I would appreciate it if you just hit the subscribe button. Helps the channel grow and helps get more people watching and growing this community. But for now, let's jump into it. So a huge launch for Xbox Game Pass has happened, and that is Clair Obscur Expedition 33, a turn-based action RPG with just an incredible style to it. Everybody who's been jumping in and playing it already are thinking this could be Game of the Year, or at least up there as Game of the Year. It's a huge get here for Xbox Game Pass, and it really bolsters their lineup in a time where Game Pass is insane right now. It is absolutely phenomenal with the lineup of games that are dropping into it. And you have to ask yourself, how are they going to keep this up? Because we have the June showcase, and we have to know what's coming out in the second half of the year for Game Pass. And if they continue this throughout this entire year, this will be probably the greatest year ever in Xbox, in Game Pass. And the crazy part about this is, if you think about all of their first party studios, this isn't going to be an anomaly. I think this is something they're going to be able to continue to keep up here going forward. Maybe not as rapid of a pace with so many games launching at the same time, but just nonstop incredible content day one into Game Pass. And it's really being highlighted here by Clair Obscur Expedition 33. But how is this game running on the Xbox Series X and S? How are you going to be experiencing it on your console? We do have a first look at this here in terms of everything you need to know about it. They say here, there are two performance modes for this game on the Xbox Series X, one that aims for 30 frames per second with higher fidelity, and one that drops resolution and visual detail for smoother 60 FPS playback. They say both of these modes look fairly stable. And they also say here that there are some frame dips when cutscenes play out, particularly on the 60 FPS performance. But overall, decent modes here on the Xbox Series X. On the Xbox Series S, there is the 130 FPS mode, which obviously isn't going to be as visually appealing as what we see here on the Xbox Series X. But they do say here, we must admit this version looks quite a bit blurrier than its Xbox Series X counterpart in either of its modes, although the general frame rate and frame pacing looks nice and smooth overall, which is a bonus. So 30 FPS, of course, obviously not as clear as the Series X version, but running smooth. This is now becoming a trend for games that are releasing new games, big AAA games on Xbox for the Series S. A lot of these developers now are opting in for just a 30 FPS mode on the Xbox Series S. The question is, do they continue to update it for the Series S and provide a 60 FPS mode in the future? Or is this now what it's going to be for the Series S going forward until the next generation? I mean, we're 5 years into this generation. Games are becoming slightly more demanding, and the Series S is obviously a far weaker console than the Series X and the PlayStation 5. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just continue to opt for the 30 FPS and just leave it at that, just to finish off this last year or so, 2 years of this generation, and then move forward to the next generation of Xbox as they prepare for handhelds, which they're going to have to be able to optimize well for that, because you're going to be getting 30, 40 FPS modes on handhelds going into next gen. So kind of sets them up and gives them a little bit of an advantage for developing for the Xbox platform, because they already have that Series S baseline, which I think will translate pretty good to the upcoming handhelds that will be released. So exciting stuff there. I mean, Game Pass, again, it's phenomenal. I can't wait to jump into this game. I think I'll probably put Oblivion on hold, play through this, and then go back to Oblivion Remastered. Okay, yesterday we got the Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders. it was varied across the board on when you were able to jump in and get it. Here in Canada, you could have gotten it at midnight at Walmart, and then there was Best Buy at 9 a.m., but that lasted for like 3 hours. They had different launches. There was GameStop at 12, and there were some other stores as well. So it was varied across the board. I think that was very similar as well to the United States. And as expected, the Nintendo Switch 2 pre-order situation did not go well, at least online. I actually heard some good things about going into GameStop physically. It was pretty easy. They had many units. In fact, the store that's near me had like over 200 Nintendo Switch 2 units. And they had an availability tracker on GameStop's website that you could see whether, if you were going to a store, if you could make a pre-order. And those things were available pretty much throughout most of the day. So I don't even think the Switch 2 was that hard to get. There was just so many people flooding the online servers that it blew everything up, and then it all went to crap for some people. They probably just walked off and decided not to deal with anything. But of course, they're all sold out now. I think it's too late now to go ahead and try to get a Nintendo Switch 2 pre-order before they do launch on June 5th. And I just wish at some point we can get better systems in place. You'd think these websites would learn by now to have better systems in place where it doesn't instantly crash whenever things do go live. But scalpers, always an issue when it comes to new consoles and pre-ordering them, and they're already trying to sell them for crazy amounts of money. Here we have the Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders that are up there for as much as $2,000. And I've seen people buying Nintendo Switch 2 for $700 on eBay already. So that's an extra $300 that they are willing to spend on this thing, getting it secondhand from somebody who made a pre-order and just has that pre-order as of right now. But we have this here as well. On eBay Canada specifically, you'll find a ton of listings for over $1,000, while others are priced in the $900 range. Some even reach as high as $2,000. And they say this is well above the respective $629 and $699 price tag Canadian that you would be getting for the Nintendo Switch 2. So you take that, you're going to probably get at US listings $700-800 as well, and people are going to end up buying them. Scalpers ruin it for a lot of people who just want to get their hands on this thing. I was at the last hour able to get a pre-order for the Mario Kart World Bundle at Best Buy, and I think that was like my last chance. I had been kicked out of the queue multiple times, and then finally the queue went through and my pre-order did go through. So I will be getting a Nintendo Switch 2 at launch. I will talk about it, unbox it, all of those cool things that come with a new console launch. But yeah, it did not go as planned for a lot of people, and it was pretty hard to get. The Switch 2, one of the biggest things that occurred with it when it was announced was everyone, including myself, complained about the pricing. I instantly, though, admitted that I am a part of the problem. I complained about the pricing, but I'm still going to go out and buy it because I love my Nintendo products. But that seemingly was the case for everyone. All the people who complained, or at least most of the people. I'm sure there are some people that still didn't try to go out and get a Switch 2, but the thing sold out right away. People are buying them on eBay, and analysts are expecting here that the Switch 2 will have 6 to 8 million units here ready for players to buy at the launch. So on top of the pre-orders, if you still want to get it, it looks like there will still be a lot of units here that people will be able to pick up, which means the sales for the Switch 2 in the first year are going to be absolutely massive, even after all of the complaints about the price. They say, according to Bloomberg, analysts are expecting Nintendo to have 6 to 8 million Nintendo Switch units on hand for its June 5th launch. So this would make it one of the biggest console launches in the video game industry's history. So if you did not get a Switch 2 pre-order, you should still be able to get one when this thing does launch. The president of Nintendo, Shuntaro Furukawa, had this to say on X. They say here that they apologize to players. A significant number of applicants won't be selected. So to be able to get a Switch via the Nintendo Store, you have to be selected by them. You have to apply for it, but a lot of people did not get in. But there will still be a lot. This is telling me that the actual stock and inventory for the Switch 2 is not going to be a problem whatsoever comparatively to the PS5 and the Series X, where there was a chip shortage and they just couldn't produce enough consoles to meet the demand. I think Nintendo has more than enough units out there to meet the demand. even when you take a look at what happened with the pre-order situation and these sites crashing. So if you don't have one, don't go to a scalper. Don't go buy one on eBay. I'm sure you're going to be able to get one of these when it launches on June 5th by going into a store. Nintendo is preparing here. They aren't, it sounds like, at least, and maybe this changes by the time it happens on June 5th, but it sounds like, and even from numbers that I was seeing and hearing from pre-orders at in stores at GameStop, it sounds like they have a lot here and they're trying to make a big first year push here for units sold. So don't fall for the scalpers. Don't go spend extra money just to get their pre-orders. I think you can wait until the launch day, or even keep your eyes out on the internet between now and launch where more consoles may pop up and be able to get one. I know for myself with the Nintendo Switch 1, that's how I got mine. I walked into a Walmart at 7 a.m. on the day that it launched, and I got one, no problem. I have a feeling it will be kind of similar here with the Nintendo Switch 2. But pre-orders now in Canada and the United States, the craziness is over, and now we wait here until June 5th, where we get to actually see this console, pick it up, play it, and see if it is as big of a nice upgrade as people think it is over the current Nintendo Switch. One thing that Nintendo was keeping alive was physical games, because with the Switch 1, you could get a lot of games, third party, first party, where the entire game was on the cartridge. And as a collector, as someone who likes physical games, not saying I don't have a massive digital catalog as well, but I like physical media and I want it to stay alive. I know it is dying. I know it is going away. Nintendo was kind of that last beacon of hope for it to stay. And it looks like they are definitely moving away from physical and really pushing the all digital future, which from the business perspective makes complete sense, but it is very disappointing. There was hope when the publisher Marvelous Games that came out and said all of their stuff was on the cartridge. And I thought that was going to translate to a lot of third-party games that you could definitely fit on a cartridge without having additional downloads. Looks like most of these third parties are not taking part in this practice, which is very sad. It says here, every physical third-party Switch 2 game seen in Japan so far is a game key card requiring a download. Nintendo is calling these games that require downloads game key cards, because basically the cartridge in the box is literally just a key for unlocking it from the eShop to download, which again, very, very disappointing. You can see the box art here and they have the additional information that downloads are needed for these games. Sonic and Shadow Generations, Yakuza Zero Director's Cut, and Street Fighter 6. Specifically, it says here, game key cards are different from regular game cards because they don't contain the full game data. Instead, the game key card is your key to downloading the full game to your system via the internet. After it's downloaded, you can play the game by inserting the game key card into your system and starting it up like a standard physical game card. And as originally pointed out here by Gematsu, the physical versions of every third-party Switch 2 title currently up for pre-order appears to be a game key card rather than the full game itself. There's actually a massive list here of everything here that you're going to need that extra download for, all of the third-party ones. But it looks like Nintendo themselves is giving you the full package on the cartridge itself, where you're not going to need that additional download. But this is sad because, like I said, Nintendo was the last beacon of hope for physical collectors, for people who enjoy physical games. They were keeping it alive. It looks like it's over now. Third parties don't care about that. They don't want to spend the extra, I guess, money to put it all onto the card and produce something that would house the entire game, because I think you can choose the size of the game cartridge that does come in the case and everything. And I could be wrong on that, but I believe that was a case for the last Switch, and I think that potentially is the case for this too. So they're just deciding to opt out. Again, very, very unfortunate to see. All right, let's talk PlayStation Plus, because I've actually praised PlayStation Plus over the last couple of months. I think they've had some very, very good launches and announcements of games dropping into the service, mainly from the third-party perspective, getting some big hitters. And games leave subscription services all the time. PlayStation Plus games leave, Xbox Game Pass games leave. It's nothing surprising, but PlayStation is doing something here that's a head scratcher, as well as really differentiating itself as having lesser value than Xbox Game Pass, because there's a bunch of games leaving their service coming up, but a lot of them here are their own first party titles that you would think would stay in the PlayStation Plus service forever, but they aren't. So it does say here that the subscription service offers a catalog of PS3, PS4, and PS5 games, and PS3 games can only play via Sony's streaming service. PS4 and PS5 can run natively, but there are many PlayStation first-party games here that are being removed from the service. So these are the games leaving PlayStation Plus. You can see some first-party ones here that are going to be dropping off. Specifically, you have Resistance: Fall of Man, Resistance 2, and Infamous Second Son. All games that, in my opinion, if you're paying for PlayStation Plus, you're subscribed into the PSN, these are first-party PlayStation titles. They should be in that service forever. They should never come out of it, but they are. And to me, this kind of takes more value away from PlayStation Plus, which I thought was increasing in value, and this hurts it a little bit, in my opinion. It's a very odd move. I don't see why they would take it out. Don't see the point of it. I mean, how many people are going out and buying Resistance: Fall of Man and Resistance 2 and Infamous Second Son right now from their own PlayStation Network? It doesn't really make too much sense. It can't cost them much money to keep it in there, but they're deciding to move it out of the service. All right, a couple more things here. If you're a fan of the yearly releases of Madden, and now will be college football, we got the release days for it, and we also got information here that I think will hopefully help these games, specifically help Madden improve. I like college football. The first one that they had put out in over 10 years or so was very, very good, last year's version, and they could definitely make improvements for it, but it's already started off on a very good foot. I've been pretty critical of Madden now for a very long time. I think it's been bad for a couple of generations at this point, but maybe it not being on the last generation console anymore will help them make it better. It has been confirmed here that Madden 26 won't be on last gen Xbox and PlayStation 4. This was confirmed via the game's website. They say won't be available on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It means the games run on the Gen 8 systems ends after 12 years. So it was on those systems for 12 years, which is pretty crazy. We also did get the launch dates for both Madden and College Football 26. College Football will be releasing on July 10th, 2025. And like last year's, it wasn't on the last gen consoles anyways, but it will be on the Xbox Series X and S. And then Madden 26 will be releasing on August 14th, 2025. So if you are a fan of these games, they are going to be coming out in the summer as usual. And those are the dates that they will be released on. And finally, we have FBC Firebreak. This is the new upcoming 3-player co-op first-person shooter from Remedy Entertainment. So if you're a fan of Remedy, this is one you're going to want to keep your eyes on. We got the release date and everything for this. This one does seem interesting. I believe this one is also dropping into Xbox Game Pass. In fact, it says here that FBC Firebreak officially launches on June 17th for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S. Will also be available for PC players via Steam and the Epic's Game Store, and will be available on day one for PC Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. So that's one of the first third-party games that is dropping into Game Pass for the second half of the year. We already know this one, but it just continues to show how strong Game Pass is going to be this year. Coming from Remedy Entertainment, it looks interesting. Like I said, it's a first-person shooter, 3-player co-op game. They say here where your friends mow down mobs of odd enemies while using even stranger weapons. I mean, Remedy is great, so I think this one could end up being pretty fun to play, but June 17th is when it will be coming out. I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button, share it, like it, all that stuff. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.